Good morning, ma'am. My name is Dave Torres, and I am one of the member of Group 3. So my topic is about the meaning of poetry. So poetry is not always about hidden or indirect meaning, sometimes called meaning play. So meaning when we hear the word meaning play, it is something tricky for us to understand. It is need of a lot of readings to understand what is the true meaning of the writer. Concreteness and particularity. In general, poetry deals with particular things in concrete language, since our emotion most readily responds to this thing. So in general, poetry deals with particular things in concrete language. So our emotions is readily being affected of what we read. Images in turn suggest meanings beyond the mere identify of the specific object. So images is being suggested to identify more on the specific object. Poetry plays with meaning and identifies resemblances or makes comparison between things common. For example, figurative comparison. So the example of the comparative comparison is ticking of clock. Ticking of clock refers to the mortality. So every single second there is mortality. Hardness of steel. This statement is telling or saying about the determination of somebody. White. So white is stands for peace and purity. Such term as connotation, simile, metaphor, allegory, and symbol are aspects of this comparison. Generally called figurative or metamorphical language. So denotative, denotation, and connotation. Word meanings are not only restricted to dictionary. The full meaning of a word includes both the dictionary definition and the special meaning of associations a word takes in a given phrase of expression. For example, that a tiger is carnivorous animal of the cat family. So tiger is carnivorous, so it's very dangerous to the other animal in the jungle to be being near of the tiger. Tiger is very sinuous movement, like very quiet and very quick in attacking something. So very dangerous. So like us, somebody are very quiet and it's look like good, but when we are not aware, they are attacking us like very quick, like a tiger. So these are the suggestive, figurative, and connotative meanings. Figurative and connotative devices. So these are the devices of the connotative. So number one, we have a simile. Simile is a rhetorical term used to designate the most elementary form of resemblance. So most elementary form of resemblance, like there are similarities. Most simile are introduced by like or as. The comparison are usually between the similar situation. Two subject or two things different but similar, they have one thing in common. Example, my love is like a red. So referring to his love that like a color red, and red rose. So her love like a color red and red rose. So when he speak a red rose, referring to her love. Speaking a red, referring also to her love. Two things, color red and red rose, had one thing in common. Number two, I hope you understand that. Number 2, metaphor. Metaphor lives out like or as. This is implies a direct comparison between object. So he explained this comparison in direct message like this: all flesh is grass. Number 3, siniduchi. Siniduchi is a form of metaphor which in mentioning an important part signifies the whole. So siniduchi is a form of metaphor mentioning the important. So he's mentioning the important, something that's being attached, the very important one. So like hand, example, hand for labor. So what is very important of this statement is it is a hand for labor, because without a hands we cannot do our works. Next is metonymy. Is a similar to siniduchi. It is a form of metaphor allowing an object closely associated but unattached with an object or situation to stand for that thing itself. So in siniduchi, the important one is being attached, like hand for labor. For this one, the important also the same, closely the same, but the important things that want to emphasize is not being attached. It is unattached. Like for example, the crown or the throne for a king, or the bench for the judicial system. So this example is referring to the one who has in a higher position or higher rank, like a crown. A crown is not for the slave, or is not for the maids, or something low in position. Crown is for the king or for the queen. So the next is throne for a king. So that throne is, we know that there are no low position or low grade human can sit that kind of chair. It is only a king who was in the higher position, or bench, or the bench for the judicial system. So who can sit the judicial system, the bench of the judicial system? It is one who a has a higher position, or a judge. Next is a symbol. Is like a similar or metaphor with the first term left out. My love is like a red rose. It's a simile if through persistent identification of the rose with a beloved woman, we may come to associate the rose with her and her particular virtues. At this point, the rose would become a symbol. Allegory. Allegory can be defined as one to one correspondence between a series of abstract ideas and series of images, pictures presented in the form of a story or narrative. For example, in George Orwell, Animal Farm, it is extended allegory that represents the Russian revolution through the fable of a farm, and it is rebellious animal. So next is personification. Of course, when you treat abstraction or inanimate objects as human, that is giving them human attributes, powers, or feelings. An example, nature swept, the wind whisper many truth to me. So personification, it is something that speaking like in his personal experience. Next is irony. Irony. Irony takes many forms. Most basically, irony is a figure of speech in which actual intent is expressed through words that carry the opposite meaning. So irony is speaking like This is most likely a parable, speaking something but different meaning. Example of that is a paradox. Paradox usually a literal contradiction of terms or situation. Example, animals are equal but some are more equal than others. See. So next is situational irony. When a situation in life or a story is incongruent. Example, fire hall burns down. And next is dramatic irony. Audience has more information or greater perspective than character. So this is one that being explained in the meaning of poetry, that our emotion is readily response to it, because when we say something, even if we do not know the real beginning or cause of that something some sins, our emotion is make some analysis of the things that we can see. um, Next is verbal irony. Verbal irony, saying one thing mean but meaning another. So this is the same, saying one thing but meaning another. Lahi ang yang meaning. So overstatement, hyperbole, understatement, meiosis, sarcasm. Irony may be a positive or negative force. It is most valuable as a mode of perception. So ang atoa nga panlantaw, atong pangunahuna ug atoa nga kining pangagpas sa usa ka butang that assess the point to see around and behind. Oppose attitude and to see them, often conflicting interpretation that come from our examination of life. So if we read poem, we need to read it more and more, so that we can understand what is the meaning of the or the message of that poem. So because if we just only read one or twice or thrice, we didn't really understand what is the more meaning of that message. So it is a lot of repetition for us to understand what is the real message to that. So that is all, and thank you.